So how did the makers of the cartoon decide which particular characters were you going to play? Or did you have a preference for which Autobots and Decepticons you were going to be?
Well, I don't know about Jack. They begged me to be in the show and said, take any part you want. Did you have to actually read for it?
No, I didn't even know the difference between an Autobot and a Decepticon, even when we were in the midst of doing the show. It never sunk in exactly. No, they had been doing it for a while, and they ran out of characters. I mean, they ran out, you know, there's a limit to the number of characters one guy can do. So they needed new blood, and I was part of that new blood transfusion, and wound up doing 7 different characters.
But it was all very loosey-goosey. I was kidding around with my original answer. It was all auditioned. They would invite actors to come in, sometimes total strangers that were recommended by an agent, sometimes actors they were familiar with. They'd say, here's this thing, what do you got? And sometimes they would have a rough idea of what they wanted, sometimes they didn't have a clue, and in the middle of an audition somebody would go, do that, we like that. And suddenly you would find that you were this character in Transformers.
Well, Wally Burr was the director, but I had worked with Wally on the Challenge of the Super Friends with Hanna-Barbera earlier. And I was Hawkman, the Flash, and Super Samurai. So I was able to do 3 voices, and Wally knew that I was fairly versatile. So when they needed some new blood, he called. I didn't have to audition. He just knew what he wanted, and he knew that I could do it. So, but I did have to audition for all that stuff at Hanna-Barbera. So it just sort of depends on who's doing what.
In those days, it was an auditioning business. The late Joni Gerber, I was in a workshop with her, marvelously talented actress. I don't think she did a lot of animation, but she did a million commercials, and she said, voicelings, as she called us. She said, before we even start, there are some things you need to know. There are no stars in voiceovers. In those days, celebrities weren't doing them, so she was correct. She says, you will always have to read for it, and they are never going to send a limousine. And boy, was she not kidding.
So really they just gave you a picture and said, oh, what kind of voice do you think goes along with this character?
90% of the time there's a drawing, maybe a profile and a full-on shot, almost like they were criminals, and a 1-paragraph description. And from that point on, I guess you probably work the way I do. You look at the picture, you read the description, you hope the hell some sort of a voice appears in your head, and then you try to reproduce it.
Well, part of the thing with Transformers was they synthesized most of the voices.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter. You know, I mean, if I listened to the show, I wouldn't know my voice because they'd run it through some kind of a thing and make it sound like a big hunk of metal. So, you know, it didn't really matter. Just get in. It was like, one of the first voices I did was Ramjet. Ramjet was a Decepticon. And Ramjet was this kind of a guy. I mean, with a name like Ramjet, you know, what kind of a voice would you give it, you know? Yes, please. Yeah.
Hi, this is Ramjet. Now you know why you didn't get that part.
If I'd only thought of that.